Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and today I have a short video for you going through my wellness planner and how I'm planning to set it up. So before I actually jump into the planner itself, I wanted to talk to you about something that comes from the world of psychology, and that's the different dimensions of wellness. So, again, just thinking about wellness, one of the things that I think is really important about wellness is trying to put wellness as less so of something that's goals based or like there's something that you have to check off every single day, but more so that we're considering the balance of all these different areas of wellness. And so let's go through some of the areas or dimensions of wellness that I think is kind of interesting to hear about and learn a little bit about. So the first one that I think most people are aware of is going to be physical health or physical wellness. Again, this is one that I think most people automatically think of when they think of wellness. When we think of wellness, we tend to think of physical health most often. And so all the things that we would apply to physical health goes here. The next one is emotional health. Now, emotional health sometimes is called mental health or psychological health. Again, when we think of wellness, we tend to think of physical health and then we tend to think of mental health as a second component. And so all the things that are part of the emotional dimension are going to be things pretty much related to coping strategies, how we problem solve, how we make decisions, and just trying to keep our balance with our emotional state in terms of handling stressors or crises that might come up in our lives. So, emotional wellness. The third one that I'm going to talk about is social wellness. Social wellness is maintaining those relationships that are very important to us, our family, our friends, and just making sure that we have an emotional network of people who can support us through anything that we might be going through, whether that's good or bad. Social wellness. The fourth one is occupational wellness. When we think of occupational wellness, this is pretty much professional development, making sure that the job that we have really is a long-term goal of ours and we're not just in it for the money per se, but working towards something that we really do truly enjoy. And so that's occupational wellness in a nutshell. The next one is spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness is making sure that we maintain a spiritual practice of some sort. Now, that could be religion, but it could also be things related to nature, meditation, yoga, or some kind of just practice that helps us connect to something that's a little bit bigger or higher than we are as an individual. Spiritual wellness. Next is financial wellness. Financial wellness is really looking at our budget, our money, and making sure that we are not overspending. We're not going through and using money that we don't have saved, and really just making sure that we examine where we are financially, and making sure that the money that we spend matches that and aligns with that. Now, financial health is not necessarily related to making as much money as you can. It's more so about making sure that you know where you stand financially and setting your budgets to be related to that. The next one is going to be intellectual wellness. Intellectual wellness is making sure that we stay engaged with things that activate our brain. So it could be things as simple as playing brain games. It could also be things like listening to podcasts, reading self-help or self-development books. It could also be things like just making sure that we stay engaged with the world in terms of news, things that are happening in our world, current events. All right, so intellectual. The next one is creative. Now, creative wellness is pretty much what it sounds like. This is using your skills in a way that is creative in some way. So whether that's art, whether it's journaling, or just using your skills in a way like woodworking or any kind of creative endeavor that really gets you to use whatever your particular skill set is. And then lastly is environmental wellness. Now, I feel like this is probably the most abstract of all of these dimensions that I've put out here. But environmental wellness is making sure that we stay engaged with the earth in a way that shows that we're taking care of earth and that we're aware that we have limited resources in our world. So there are a number of things that can fit into environmental. Now, You can see here that I've put 9 dimensions. Now if you Google wellness dimensions, you can see that there are some people who only focus on 4 of them, and there are some that can go up to 12. And so I just picked, I feel like, the 9 that came up the most commonly. Now, with these 9, I'm not going to be able to use all of them in the wellness planner. And so let me show you what that looks like. I did post a video with the planner lineup that I'm planning to use in July. But in brief, what I'm planning to use for my wellness planner, which is one of the several planners that I'm using in July, I'll be using the Fitness Extension Pack, which looks like this. This is actually the front, which I moved to be third in line. And these are the dividers for it. A year from now, you'll wish you had started today. And it is more fitness oriented. So as you can see, when I flip into the inner pages, you'll see that it's undated, and what they have running down here is breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, calorie total, exercise, and then your water totals. And it reads right here, weekly food and exercise log. So it's very much emphasizing physical health, the food, the exercise, and the water that you consume and achieve every day. Now for me, I'm not a huge fitness or physical health oriented person, so I don't necessarily need an entire spread just for physical health. But what I'm thinking is that in this section, we have these 5 boxes. And what I'm going to do is convert this food section into 5 different dimensions of wellness. All right, and so let's go back and take a look at this. The very first one I'm thinking of is spiritual. Now, I'm removing this not because I don't need to focus on this, but I am removing it because I don't need it to go into my wellness planner, because I have a faith planner that I'll be using to track my devotionals, my sermon notes from church, and all of the spiritually based things related to my spiritual growth. And so that faith planner, I think, encapsulates this dimension. And so I don't need to track it in a different wellness planner, since I have one that's a self-contained spiritual or faith planner. So that's, I think, the first one that I'll put to the side. The next one is financial. And again, for the same reason, it's not so much that I don't need to focus on financial wellness, but I have a budget planner that's part of my home binder. I have a tab that's just for budgets. And so I track all of my spending in that section. I also have very detailed budgets in terms of breakdown of where my money goes and where I over or underspend every month. And so I have a budget planner or a budget section in my home binder that focuses on financial wellness. And so I don't need to track that in my wellness planner. So that will be set to the side. Another one that I'm thinking of is occupational. Occupational, I have a work planner. A lot of the things that I do track in my work planner are long-term goals, professional development, and other things that I need to have together in my work planner. And so occupational wellness, again, not that it's not important, but I have a separate planner just for my work or occupational wellness dimension. And so I am setting this one aside because that's it. And so what I have left are these 6. And just looking at them, I don't know that I want to get rid of any of them. And so these are the 6 that I'm thinking of keeping into the wellness planner. And I think that I can make it all work. I have 5. And then this section could be a 6th section. And that's what I'm thinking of doing, is just to keep these 6 and put 5 here and the 6th one in this area. Okay, so for me, the most obvious is, because the water totals are already here and I don't want to get rid of that, I would move the physical to this section right here at the bottom. And so that will go there. The others, I think, can just kind of be random. Really, I'm just not sure that it matters what order they go in. And so let's just kind of place them. I'll put environmental at the top, social next, emotional, creative, and intellectual. And those would just be the order of the categories, right? So this wellness planner, for the time being, it's my very first time using a wellness planner. I'm thinking it's pretty much going to be functional. What I'm thinking of doing is putting whiting it out, putting the labels here, and then every day just tracking some of the things that fit into these different categories. Now, let me do that first, and then we'll come back and talk about some examples of things that might go into these 5 or 6 categories for me. but I will eventually put the dates here. I just flipped to a random page, and so this is actually, I don't quite know where this is in my planner. And so what I'm going to do is just walk you through some examples of things that I would track in each day and kind of talk you through the functional aspect of this planner. So this first one is environmental. One of the biggest things for me is trying to recycle and be better about waste consumption in my house, and I like to be able to reduce the amount of trash that we produce. Recycling is probably the biggest thing here. Some other things that I don't necessarily track, but I do try to be cognizant of is turning off lights, changing the thermostat. So for me though, the biggest thing for environment is going to be recycling. The other big thing, although I'm not sure if it's really environmental or not, but I'm planning to put it in here, is tracking my donations to Goodwill. And so a lot of that I feel like is just, instead of putting into the landfill, I'm able to donate it to someone who might think that it's their treasure, and where it's my trash, it's their treasure. And so those are the two major things: recycling and donating. For social, social for me really involves my family and friends. And so for me, the biggest things is making sure that I track not necessarily people who I see on a daily basis, like my husband and my daughter, but people in my family who I don't get to see regularly. So my sisters, my brother, their families, my nieces and nephews, my in-laws. And so just kind of keeping a list of people that I have contact with on a daily basis. Now that's my family. I also want to keep track of my friends. And so for my friends, I see them less often, and so it might be where I start including things like phone calls or text messages that I intentionally send out or have communications with some of my friends. And so that will be in the social section. The next one is emotional. In the emotional section, one of the biggest things that I'm planning to track in that area is going to be self-care or me time. So right now, I am a full-time mom, a full-time professor, and obviously I'm married, and there's just a lot going on in my life. And so one of the things that I want to be able to do is make sure that I have time to decompress and de-stress from the day. And I think that's really important for emotional health and mental health. Maybe it's baths, maybe it's just spending an hour away from everyone and just having the house to myself. Those are the things that I'm planning to track in the emotional dimension right here. The next one is creative. For the creative dimension, I am not doing anything related to social media because I do have a separate planner for that. Here, I'm really talking about things that are outside of the planner world, outside of social media, more so things that I enjoy doing that are not planner related. So I like to draw, I like to doodle, I like to do things that are crafty. Even though I'm not a very crafty person, I like to at least attempt it. One of the most recent things that I've picked up lately is doing cake decorating. And so these are the things that I'm talking about in the creative section and things that I would like to track over time. This last one, at least in the top section, is intellectual. The intellectual section for me is going to include podcasts. I do like to do Sudoku and just crossword puzzles. And so those are the things that I'm going to be putting into the intellectual dimension. And then lastly, this bottom section, which is going to be physical. Now, physical, I feel like deserves a lot of space. I don't think it deserves all of the space, but because I feel like physical health sometimes is overemphasized and we underemphasize some of these other dimensions. And so I feel like it does deserve a lot of space, just not the whole page. And so for me, what I'm thinking of doing is in the physical dimension, I left the water. I feel like that's important. I don't drink as much water as I should. And what I'm going to put into this gray area, which I don't know if you can see that or not, but it is shaded out into a light gray. What I'm going to put there is going to be my food. And so it will serve as a food log for each day. And so I think it's simple enough to just put breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and just kind of put those there as I need to. So that's there. The other thing that I'm thinking is right here, it used to say calorie total. I don't necessarily need to keep track of my calories. I feel like I should, but I don't actually track that. But what I do track is my sleep. And so what I'm thinking of putting here is going to be the time that I go to bed and the time that I wake up, and then in parentheses, the number of hours that is. And a lot of that is tracked with my Fitbit. I have a Fitbit Alta. And so that's what I use to track some of that. And so that's what I'm going to put in that section, I think. And then lastly is this little section right here. Now I didn't talk about this. I'm not quite sure what will go there, but here, because this is right next to the physical section, what I'm thinking of doing is just tracking any kind of exercise that I complete during the week. I just don't know if it would fit in this section with the food, and I don't know if it would fit here. It might be where I put it there. I'm not sure. But I'm thinking for the time being, I will just put it here and see where that takes me. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of overall planning for the wellness planner. And I am trying it for the first time, although I feel like I should have tried it a long time ago because it's just been something that has been really front of mind for me, and I really love it, right? So that's my wellness planner. Now this is the cover for the social media side, so let me flip it to the right one. So this is my this is my wellness planner. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I am really excited to start this wellness planner and kind of work through some of these different categories to see if they work for me and see where it takes me in terms of improving my wellness over time. I really would like to hear from you on what you would think I should showcase on my channel. So if there's something that you're really wanting to see in terms of planning, in terms of psychology, in terms of crafting, or the combination of these three things, please do let me know by putting a comment below, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.